It was a late afternoon, and Marissa sat by the window again, waiting for her triplets to return from school. She let out a deep sigh as she looked down at her amputated leg. The reason she could no longer walk normally. She could never forget the day of the accident. It had been drizzling when she was crossing the street, carrying her homemade dish, unaware of the oncoming car. She was hit. Marissa closed her eyes as the memory washed over her. Had something worse happened that day? She didn't know what would have become of her young children. Seeing her triplets approaching snapped her out of her thoughts. She quickly reached for her crutch, stood up, and waited at the door. But to her surprise, Anton greeted her with a resentful glare. "Why, Mom?" "Why did you lie to us?" Anton asked, voice heavy with emotion. "You told us Dad, Anthony, was dead. Then why is he on the cover of this magazine?" He handed her the publication. Right there on the front page was Anthony, wearing a black tuxedo and flashing a warm, confident smile. Marissa was speechless. She stared blankly at her son, scrambling for an explanation now that her secret had been uncovered. "I had my reasons for lying. I didn't want you to have any connection with someone who never wanted the responsibility," Marissa finally said. "But even if he didn't want us, once he knew, he would have to provide support," Anton argued. "You don't understand, son. It's better when support is given willingly. You can't force someone to care. That's why I was selfish. As a mother, I tried to protect you from the pain of being rejected by your own father. We can survive on our own. I can support you three with my own effort." Despite her effort to shield the truth, she knew the day would come when they'd find out. She hated remembering what happened with Anthony, the man who hurt her deeply. Once she had a complete family. Now she couldn't even walk. "Mum, you can't work anymore like you used to. We hear you crying at night because of everything that's happened. You've sacrificed so much for us while he lived in comfort. We won't let this go." "He has to provide," Anton said, his voice firm. "No, son, I'll take care of everything. We'll be okay," Marissa replied. "We can't just let you do everything. You're not making any moves, so we will. I'm sorry, Mom, but we're doing this for you, for all of us. I don't care what happened between you two. What matters is that he knows his responsibility, so you won't have to suffer anymore," Anton said, making Marissa tear up. "Let him be, Mum," said Sean, stepping in. "Anton just wants to help you. You shouldn't have to break your back just to raise us, especially when we have a dad who can support us. You both brought us into this world. Both of you should share the responsibility," added Marlowe. "Anton's right. We're here to support you, Mom. This can't be your life forever. We're sad watching you neglect yourself just for us. You're still young. You should be enjoying life, go out with friends, have fun. So now we're going to make sure he doesn't walk away from his obligations," Sean declared with resolve. Marissa had thought only Anton was determined, but now his brothers were joining the plan too. She had tried so hard to avoid facing Anthony again, but the sight of her children, determined and mature, moved her. "If that's what you've decided, then go ahead," Marissa said, retreating to her room. Meanwhile, Anthony attended a college reunion for the first time. He had always declined previous invitations due to work. Upon arriving at the hotel venue, he was escorted to the rooftop by staff. "Glad you finally made it, man. Not too busy anymore?" his friend Robert greeted, shaking his hand. Others from their college group followed, giving Anthony hearty handshakes. Though they had different majors back then, they had all remained close. Anthony smiled politely and sat down with a plate of food. "Not so busy now, so I made it," he said. "You've missed 3 reunions already, but at least you're here now." Adam, an engineer, chimed in. "I made up for it. I brought plenty of food and beer," Anthony replied with a laugh. "Too bad we're not complete. Alex and Norman couldn't make it." "They're overseas," someone added. Anthony noticed some women across the room, looking and waving at him. Still a head-turner, huh? Robert teased. Not interested, Anthony replied coolly, shaking his head. Even now, he couldn't forget how Marissa left him without explanation. He had no idea what he did wrong. He hadn't dated since. Come on, man. Couldn't you pick even one of them to talk to tonight? Josh nudged. No, Anthony replied. We're all busy, but I know you've been keeping tabs on my life. You've been single for 12 years? Adam asked, stunned. Yeah, Anthony admitted. Work kept me busy enough to not notice time passing. Did something happen in your last relationship? Is that why you stopped dating? Robert asked. Sort of. My girlfriend left me. Out of nowhere. I never knew why. I guess that's why I haven't moved on. Maybe you never forgave her. That's why you're stuck, Adam said. What if you met her again someday? I don't know what I'd do. Then forgive her, Robert added. There must have been a reason. Free yourself from the pain. Love's a good thing. Anthony nodded, ending the conversation. After dinner, the group started drinking. Anthony chose not to get drunk. He still had to drive. At around 9 p.m., he decided to leave. As he reached his car, he was surprised to find a woman leaning against the hood, smiling sweetly. He ignored her. He wasn't in the mood for flirting, not when his past reminded him how easily women could walk away. He got in the car and started the engine. The woman glared as she walked off. Anthony sighed. He didn't want to be rude, but he also didn't want to waste time or emotions again. As he drove, he opened the window to enjoy the cold night breeze. Halfway through his drive, he furrowed his brow. 3 teenage boys were blocking the road, each holding a baseball bat. What startled him even more was how much they looked alike, triplets, and something about their faces struck him. They resembled him. He stopped the car and opened the door. Step out if you don't want us to smash your fancy car, Anton warned. Anthony swallowed hard. When their eyes met, he saw anger in the boy's stare, enough to make him change his mind quickly and step out. He didn't want his face smashed either. The triplets looked like street punks, but good-looking ones, he noted. Do you want money? How much do you need? Anthony asked. The boy in the black shirt, Sean, gave a bitter smile and stared him down. Money's exactly what we need. But before that, we have something to tell you. It's just sad that you don't even recognize us. But then again, why would you? You didn't even know, said Sean. What do you mean? Anthony asked, eyeing each of the boys. We're your kids. You never got to know us. We're in high school now, living life while you live peacefully, unaware that you have children struggling to survive, Marlon said firmly. Anthony stood frozen, speechless, staring at the 3 serious-faced teens. He couldn't recall ever fathering any children, and no one had ever told him. I had no idea. If I had known, I would have never let you suffer, Anthony finally said. Sure you didn't. You're afraid of responsibility, but you had no problem being in relationships and bringing lives into the world, Sean replied. But anyway, we get it. You didn't know. No one told you. But maybe you remember Marissa Owens. You were with her for over 2.5 years. Our mum is Marissa, Anton added. Anthony could barely believe it. So Marissa had his children and never told him? You're saying she raised you 3 alone all these years? Yeah, she's been taking care of us by herself for 12 years. So now it's your turn. If you don't believe us, get a DNA test. We don't care if you accept us or not. Just do your part. That's your responsibility. We're not letting our mum suffer anymore, Sean said. Where is your mum now? Anthony asked. At home. If you want to talk more, we'll leave you our number. Just call, Anton said, handing him a small piece of paper. I'll call, Anthony nodded. We're sorry if our approach was too harsh, Marlon added, hugging him tightly. The sudden emotion caught Anthony off guard. The connection was undeniable. The feeling of being called Dad struck deep. It had to be what they called a blood bond. "We didn't grow up with you, but I'm glad we finally met," Anton said, wiping away tears. "I'm sorry for being angry earlier. I blamed you when it was Mum who planted in our heads that you were gone. But you didn't even know we existed. I don't want to know her reasons anymore. I'm just happy to have met you." Anthony said nothing. He leaned back against the hood of his car, overwhelmed. He watched the triplets as they walked away. He didn't know what Marissa had against him to go as far as declaring him dead. Alone in the middle of the street, tears welled up in his eyes as his heart ached. Back at home, Marissa was growing more anxious. It was already 10 at night, and the boys still hadn't come home. They'd only said they were going to buy something, but they'd been gone too long. Negative thoughts clouded her mind. Maybe they'd started rebelling against her because of her lie. Finally, she heard the sound of 3 boys laughing outside. The door opened and they stepped in. Each of them greeted her respectfully and hugged her tightly. "Where were you?" she asked. "At a classmate's house, helping with something," they said. Her nerves settled. She led them to the kitchen to prepare dinner. She wanted to ask them about their plan regarding Anthony, but she decided to stay quiet. A month passed. Anthony had finally decided to visit his children. A sudden project had delayed him, and this was the only free time he had. He grabbed his keys and left the house, stopping by the supermarket to pick up groceries, meat, other food items, and a sack of rice. That was most important. Before going to Marissa's house, he called Anton for the address. "Anton, where are you? This is your dad." "I'm at school, Dad. We still have classes." "Text me the address," Anthony said. "Okay," Anton replied shortly, ending the call. As soon as he received the text, Anthony drove off, excited to see Marissa again after all those years, to finally ask her why she had done all of this to him. He had treated her well, and this was what he got in return. When he arrived in the neighborhood, he looked for a place to park. An older man happened to pass by. "Good morning, sir. May I ask for directions?" "Sure." "Do you know where Marissa Owens lives?" "The house with the red door, right over there." "Thank you." Anthony returned to his car and drove it closer to Marissa's house. A few minutes later, he was knocking at her door. "Anthony, what are you doing here?" Marissa asked, clearly surprised. Anthony was silent for a moment, staring at her amputated leg, and the crutch she leaned on. The sight made his heart ache, quelling whatever resentment he had felt. "I just wanted to wait here for the boys. I called earlier, but Anton said they were still in school," he explained. "All right, come in," she said, opening the door. Anthony felt a heaviness in his chest, seeing how much she struggled. He wanted to ask what had happened to her, but he stayed silent. Marissa sat down, and Anthony took the seat next to her. They were now sitting side by side. "Don't you feel lonely, staying here by yourself while the kids are in school?" Anthony asked, attempting small talk. He could sense that Marissa didn't really plan to speak to him. "I'm used to it. I keep myself busy preparing ingredients for the dishes I sell," Marissa replied. Anthony nodded. "That's good. Do you manage to sell everything each day?" "Most days, yes. The boys are great at finding customers," she said, cracking a small smile. Anthony couldn't help but smile as well. The kids were definitely his. It came out of her mouth directly. No denying it now. And even after all these years, she looked the same. She was still the woman he once loved. "They seem smart. Must take after me," Anthony joked. "I wasn't exactly a genius in school," Marissa replied with a chuckle. Anthony grinned. "So they got it all from me? You're okay with them not inheriting anything from you?" "As long as they're happy, I'll support them," That's what parents do. Anthony nodded, understanding that he still had a lot to learn as a father, but he was determined to make up for lost time and be a good dad. So, how did they find you? Did they look for you? They stopped me in the street, Anthony said with a laugh. Scared me, actually. Oh, those kids, Marissa said, frowning. Don't worry about it. They were just worried about you, Anthony replied, gently placing his hand on her arm. Marissa froze at the touch. Their eyes met. For a second, it felt like the world stood still, and the happy memories of their past came rushing back. Would you like something to drink? I'll get you something, Marissa offered, about to stand up. No, don't. You'll get tired, Anthony insisted. It's fine. I'm not even thirsty. Wait here. I brought some stuff for the kids, he said, getting up to fetch the items from his car. Marissa was flustered. She hadn't expected to feel this way seeing Anthony again. Her sons had never mentioned they'd met him. Quietly, she sat in the living room, watching him carry the groceries inside. He hadn't changed. He was still the man she once loved, though now more mature. When she saw him outside earlier, she had felt a sudden rush of fear, afraid he might be pitying her condition. She knew they'd eventually have to talk about the past. Come with me to the kitchen, Marissa. I'll cook dinner, Anthony offered with a smile after unloading the groceries. No, that's too much. I'm embarrassed, Marissa said. Come on, let me make it up to you all, even in small ways. Marissa hesitated but eventually agreed and followed him into the kitchen. Later that afternoon, the triplets came running into the house. Good afternoon, Mum. Is Dad still here? He called earlier. Did he arrive already? Anton asked excitedly as he greeted her respectfully. Marlon and Sean followed, greeting her as well. Yeah, he's in the kitchen making dinner, Marissa answered. Okay, Mum, we'll just go change, Marlon said, and Marissa nodded, watching her children head off. Left alone on the porch, she couldn't believe they'd reached this point, sharing a roof with Anthony again. If Anton hadn't seen that photo, Anthony still wouldn't have known. Meanwhile, Anthony was all smiles as 3 kids hugged him from behind while he prepared their meal. Each one came to greet him respectfully. Where's your mom? Anthony asked. She's on the porch, Sean answered. Call her, it's time to eat. When Marissa came back with the kids, Anthony's smile widened. He wanted to show her he was okay, that he was genuinely happy being with them. Sit beside Dad, Mom. Before we eat, let's take a family selfie, Anton said. No, Sean and I will just sit together, Marissa said. Still, she moved over so she could sit next to Anthony, the triplets sitting around them. Anton held up the phone. Come on, Dad. Put your arm around Mom. Scoot a little closer so we all fit, Anton said. Anthony and Marissa exchanged glances. After a second, he lifted his arm and placed it over her shoulders. When the picture was done, they all grabbed their plates and began to eat. It'd be nice if we could always be like this, one happy family, Anton said while eating. Yeah, just keep coming over, Dad. Let's eat together every time, Sean added. Anthony smiled at the triplets, then glanced at Marissa, who was quietly eating. Of course, he said, making the boys cheer in delight. After dinner, Marissa was the first to stand and leave the kitchen. Maybe she was full, or maybe she just didn't want to sit beside Anthony any longer. The thought made him chuckle. Perhaps she still felt guilty for earlier. When dinner was over, Anthony left the kitchen too. The triplets offered to clean up. He stepped out to the porch, hoping to find Marissa there, but she wasn't. She was likely resting in her room. Minutes later, the triplets joined him outside and began chatting, sharing stories one by one. Anthony listened quietly, laughing now and then. For the first time, he felt the joy of fatherhood, especially with kids who were already grown and thoughtful. This kind of bonding was exactly what he had wanted. He no longer needed to go drinking with friends to feel happy or relaxed. At 7 p.m., Anthony said his goodbyes. He had work the next day, and the kids needed sleep for school. They begged him to stay over, but he promised to sleep there next time. He didn't get to say goodbye to Marissa since she never came out of her room. Before leaving, he gave the boys money for school, including a separate amount for Marissa to manage. The three hugged him before he got into his car and drove away. Inside, Marissa peeked through a crack in the wall, watching his car pull away. She wasn't planning to sleep yet. She just wanted to avoid seeing him. With a deep breath, she walked back inside after her sons came in and locked the door. The next morning, Marissa woke up early despite her condition. She still wanted to take care of her children. She was surprised when Anton handed her the money Anthony had left. "Dad gave us our allowance," he said. Marissa hesitated, but took it so her kids wouldn't say anything more. After cooking, she prepared breakfast and helped them get ready for school. The triplets were in high school now. No more being late. She offered them extra money, but they declined. "Dad already gave us some," they said. After breakfast, they washed their dishes. That afternoon, Anthony thought about visiting the kids at school. But first, he planned to stop by Marissa's house to ask for directions. When he arrived at the school, the triplets were surprised. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Marlon asked. "Pickup duty, of course," Anthony replied with a smile. "You know, Dad, other than Mom, you're the only one we find amazing," Sean said, supported by his brothers. Anthony saw just how much the boys loved their mom. He loved her too, but now he was confused about what to feel. "By the way, what happened to your mom's leg?" he asked. "She was crossing the street and got hit by a car. We were little. She did it to protect us," Anton replied. "So that's why she seems cold. I feel like she doesn't want to talk to me," Anthony said, sighing. "She's not like that, Dad. She's probably just shy. I mean, she kept us a secret from you for so long. She feels super guilty," Marlon said with a grin. "Come on, you guys know too much," Anthony joked, inviting them to the car. The four of them walked side by side, arms around each other, and got in. The triplets were thrilled, like it was their first time in a car. Anthony decided to take them to the mall before heading home. He wanted to bring Marissa too, but he knew she wouldn't want to go. She hated being forced into things. "You'll visit again soon, right, Dad?" Sean asked. "Of course, but for now, we're heading to the mall." "Cool, we want to get some fresh air. School was exhausting," Marlon said. "You're just getting started. Wait till you're in college. It's way tougher, but keep working hard. I'll support whatever course you choose." "Thanks, Dad. That's great to hear. I want to be a soldier," Marlon announced. "Really? That's dangerous. You okay with that?" "Yes, Dad. It's just a matter of time. If it's my time to go, I'll die a hero." "I respect that," Anthony replied. "How about you, Anton? What do you want to be?" "I don't know yet, Dad. Sometimes dreams don't come true. People get married young or lose direction. Life's short, so I'm just chilling for now," Anton answered. Anthony laughed. "Hey, dreaming is free, right?" Sean added. "Exactly." "Dream away, bro." Anthony smiled at their conversation. "We're here," he said, pulling into a parking space. The kids were excited as they got out of the car and entered the mall. "If Mom were here, she'd be thrilled," Sean said with a smile. "We know she's not comfortable walking far. That crutch is heavy. Let's buy her something nice. Maybe a new dress?" Anton suggested. "Of course, we'll never forget her," Anthony said, listening quietly and feeling both joy and sadness for Marissa. No matter how much we try to avoid accidents, there will always be people who bring harm into our lives. "Pick anything you want. I'll pay. Want new phones so we can stay in touch?" Anthony offered. "No thanks, Dad. We'd feel bad spending your money like that." Marlon said. Anthony smiled. The boys had been raised well. I have a job. Don't worry about money. Really? What do you do, Dad? I'm an architect. You never listen, Marlon. Mum told us already. Anton teased. So you talked about me? Anthony asked, curious. She said you're kind, generous, and loving, Sean replied. Really? Well, your mom was right, Anthony said, grinning. She also said your good looks haven't changed, Anton added. I've always been handsome, Anthony joked, making them laugh. You're getting too confident, Dad, Sean said, high-fiving him. They all laughed together, and if the kids were giddy, Anthony was even more so. Soon after, they headed to the gadget store to look at phones. Anthony was happy just seeing his children smile, even if it was over simple things. Inside the gadget store, the triplets looked around wide-eyed, trying out display phones. Pick whichever model you like, Anthony told them. It'll make it easier for us to stay in touch. They glanced at each other. A basic one is fine, Dad. Just something for calls and texts, Anton said. Anthony nodded and paid for 3 mid-range smartphones, complete with protective cases. While walking back to the car, they stopped by a clothing boutique. The boys picked out a soft, floral print dress for Marissa, something light that would be easy for her to move in. The rain hadn't let up when they reached the house. Anthony hurried the boys inside so no one would slip on the wet porch. The living room was quiet. Marissa was nowhere in sight. Anthony rested his back against the wall for a moment, feeling a sudden ache. A bedroom door opened. Marissa stepped out, hair tousled, clearly having taken a quick nap. She managed a small smile when their eyes met, and Anthony felt his heart pound unexpectedly. Where have you 3 been? It's late and it's pouring, she scolded gently. We went to the mall, Mum, Anton answered. Come to the kitchen. Dad cooked. In this weather? Marissa muttered, but she followed them. In the kitchen, she tried to reach a plastic container on the top shelf. Anthony moved closer. Let me get that. I can manage, she replied, stretching higher. Anthony reached over her shoulder. They both grabbed the container at once, knocking it loose. It fell, and bending together, they bumped foreheads. Ow! See? Let me do it, Marissa grumbled, rubbing her head. Anthony laughed quietly, stubborn as ever. She turned to leave, but her crutch slipped on the damp tile. Anthony caught her by the waist, pulling her close so she wouldn't fall. In the sudden motion, their lips brushed for a fraction of a second. Click. They sprang apart and looked toward the doorway. The triplets stood there, grinning, Anton's phone raised. What was that sound? Marissa demanded. Nothing, Mom. Marlon just took a picture, Anton said, staring at the floor. Really? Marissa glared. It's obvious who you were photographing. It was an accident, Anton insisted, dragging out a chair and sitting quickly. His brothers followed, trying to hide smiles. Marissa shot Anthony a dark look. This is your fault, then busied herself setting the table. Anthony exhaled, half amused, half embarrassed. During dinner, Sean said, Dad, fall break is coming. It'd be fun to travel. Yeah, Marlon added. We could use some fresh air. Anthony nodded. I bought a townhouse out near Lakeview. We could stay there. Thanks, Dad, they chimed. Marissa kept eating quietly. How about you, Marissa? Want to come? Anthony asked. I'm not much for trips. You all go, she said. Come on, Mom, Marlon pleaded. You deserve a vacation. She shook her head. We'll see. After an hour, the triplets yawned and headed to bed. Marissa stayed in the living room, staring at the rain-streaked window. Anthony sat opposite her. How are you, really? He asked. I'm fine, she said softly. Anthony took a steady breath. After you left, and told the kids I was dead. Do you know what that did to me? Did I hurt you that much?" Marissa clasped her hands. "I was afraid. You said you weren't ready for obligations. I thought, if you knew, you'd feel trapped. I said I wasn't ready then, but I never said I wouldn't stand by you. The worst was letting them believe I was gone." His voice cracked. "I'm still here, Marissa." "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears welling. Anthony moved to her side, wrapping his arms around her as she began to cry. "Enough. It's over. I'm grateful you raised them so well, even after everything," he murmured, kissing the top of her head. Marissa's arms tightened around his waist. For a long moment neither spoke. Finally, Anthony stood. "It's late, and the roads are slick. I should get home." Marissa hesitated, then nodded and disappeared into her room. Anthony left quietly, the boys already asleep. Outside, the rain had eased to a mist. He drove off into the night. Unaware that Marissa was watching through a narrow crack in the wall, she peeked through the crack in the wall to see if Anthony had left. When she saw his car still parked, she stepped out of the room quietly. Perhaps he heard her, because the car door opened. She called his name, and Anthony got out. She held in her hand a shirt she had bought for him long ago, which she had hidden all this time. Back then, it was way too big for her, but now it might finally fit Anthony. "Where are you going, Marissa?" he asked. "I'm going to sleep beside the boys. You'll sleep in my room tonight. It's safer," she replied. Anthony agreed. She let him stay there so he could sleep more comfortably. "Stay and talk to me a little. I'm not sleepy yet," Anthony said. "All right," she replied, sitting on the edge of the bed. Anthony sat beside her. "You can lie down and relax," he said. Marissa slowly lay down. As she did, Anthony gently helped her. Her heart pounded. She wasn't sure why she still felt this nervous, but lying next to him felt overwhelming. "So how's life been, Anthony?" she asked, wanting to break the silence. "It's been okay. Pretty happy, I guess," he said. "I've heard you're still not married. Why is that?" she asked. "I don't know either, Marissa. Maybe it's because I never got over what happened between us. But now that things are okay between us, maybe I'll finally be ready to love again," he answered. "That's good. At least I won't feel guilty that you didn't marry because of me," Marissa said, smiling bitterly. "You don't need to feel guilty. Everything's fine now." They kept talking. Before they knew it, an hour had passed. Marissa didn't even realize she had fallen asleep. The next morning, she woke up lying against Anthony's arm, his hand resting gently on her. She got up slowly, careful not to make any noise. She reached for her crutch under the bed and stood, quietly watching him sleep. She didn't understand why she let herself fall for him again when she thought she'd buried those feelings long ago. Before leaving the room, she bent down and gave Anthony a soft kiss on the cheek. 3 months later, many things had changed. The vacation to the countryside had pushed through, and Marissa had been convinced to come along. A lot had shifted between her and Anthony. He courted her again, and this time, she didn't hesitate to say yes. The truth was, she never stopped loving him, and she could feel that Anthony's feelings were real, so she never doubted him. She didn't care where their relationship would lead, as long as they were happy together. She was outside sweeping dry leaves into a pile. She planned to use them later and didn't notice Anthony approaching from behind. Suddenly, she felt something cold placed around her neck. "What are you doing outside?" Anthony asked. "Where are the kids?" "I'm just sweeping. The kids are inside cooking lunch," Marissa replied. She smiled when Anthony hugged her from behind. She hadn't felt that kind of affection in years, from the man she loved most. When she looked down, she saw the beautiful pendant necklace Anthony had just put on her. "Let's go inside," he said, taking her hand. "Why are you giving me this?" Marissa asked. I just want to give you something nice once in a while, even if you're not into material things, Anthony replied. Thanks. Is this real? She teased. Of course, and don't even think of pawning it, he said, and they both laughed. They hugged for a few more minutes before Anthony added, Enough sweetness, let's eat now. Excuse me, we're not being sweet, Marissa said, pouting. Says you, Anton chimed in, laughing. Come on, Mom, Dad, let's eat. Anthony let go of her and helped her inside. Marissa felt shy seeing her son catch them like that. Are you embarrassed the kids saw us being affectionate? Anthony asked. Not really, but they're smart. Even if we don't say anything, they can feel it. They entered the kitchen together. The triplets, Anton, Marlon, and Sean, were grinning from ear to ear. They were thrilled to see their parents getting along again. If we hadn't come to the countryside, Dad, you wouldn't have realized you still loved Mom, Sean said, beaming. My love for your mom never disappeared, Anthony admitted. It just got buried under everything that happened, but it all came back when we met again. Marissa smiled. She felt the same. I believe in destiny, Sean said. You didn't before, Marlon teased. You used to act all cool in 7th grade. Let me finish before you react, Anton said, scowling playfully. What is it then? Sean asked. Marissa smiled quietly, watching her children discuss love. Time had passed so quickly. It felt like only yesterday they were little, clutching her hand. Now they were grown, smart, and thoughtful. She was especially grateful for Anthony, for giving her children not just 1, but 3. You know why Mom and Dad didn't end up marrying other people? Anton said. Because they were really meant for each other. Could be, Marlon agreed. But it's also because of us that they found their way back. If they hadn't had kids, they probably wouldn't have crossed paths again. We're the real stars of their love story, Marlon said proudly. What matters is they love each other so much, Sean added. All right, that's enough talk. Let's eat before the food gets cold, Marissa said, shaking her head with a smile. The triplets burst out laughing, their joy contagious. They chatted and giggled until Anthony joined them again. You all look suspiciously happy, he said with a smirk as he sat down. After their meal, the triplets played games while Anthony and Marissa stayed back to talk. Eventually, Anthony rested his head on Marissa's shoulder and closed his eyes. It felt amazing, coming home tired, yet finding peace in someone to talk to. I love you, Anthony said softly. I love you too, Marissa replied, gently stroking his cheek. A month passed, and things only got better. Marissa felt joy that she hadn't in years. Anthony never changed in his love and care for her, and their bond grew stronger. He was still the man she loved, one she never really stopped loving. Her birthday was coming up the following week, but she didn't have any plans. She didn't care about celebrations. What mattered was that her kids were healthy, and so was the man she loved, Anthony. She turned to look beside her and smiled. Anthony was still fast asleep, even with the bright morning sun streaming in. He hadn't gone home in days. Maybe he was starting to love staying in their house, even though it had no air conditioning, only a ceiling fan. Suddenly, someone knocked at the door. Marissa gently touched Anthony's face before getting up. She reached for her crutch and walked to the door. The triplets had witnessed their sweetness earlier. Now they teased her, watching her blush while Anthony slept. Later that morning, Marissa felt something cold brush against her cheek. Anthony had kissed her. She was talking to the triplets about her birthday when they all turned to her, smiling mischievously. They clapped loudly and squealed with excitement. Go eat! Stop staring at us! Marissa exclaimed, rolling her eyes. But we're sitting right in front of you, Mom, Sean said, grinning. You two are so sweet. It's like ants are about to swarm, Sean added, chuckling. Marissa pouted. When I get a girlfriend, I want someone like Mom, so we can have a happy life too, Marlon said. That's a good plan, son. You'll definitely be happy with someone like your mom, Anthony said, hugging Marissa. Enough with that. You all need to study hard first before thinking about girlfriends, Marissa said, making the boys laugh again. It was 8 a.m., and Marissa was still asleep. The triplets didn't wake her. They knew she had been exhausted from all the laundry she did the day before. Anthony had tried to stop her from working, but she insisted. Today, only the two of them were left at home. The triplets had gone out early to pick up Adam on their way to the restaurant. Anthony smiled as he busied himself, bathing the puppy that looked like Marissa. Even with all the noise, Marissa didn't wake up. A little while later, she stirred. Anthony thought she opened her eyes, but she just shifted positions. He shook his head with a smile and got out of bed. After showering and changing, he prepared Marissa's clothes, the outfit he bought for her that morning. He was that excited. After a few minutes, he returned to the room and saw her awake, brushing her hair. You going somewhere? Business meeting? Marissa asked. Number. Did you forget it's your birthday today? We're going to celebrate, Anthony said sweetly. No need for that. It'll just add to our expenses. We should save, Marissa replied, smiling. No complaints. The kids already planned something, Anthony said, laughing. Wow, I must have overslept, Marissa muttered with a frown. Go on, take a shower, he said, handing her the dress. After her bath, Marissa called out to him. Anthony entered the room and saw her standing there in her undergarments, her back turned. Are you okay? He asked. The zipper's stuck. Help me pull it up. Just close your eyes so you don't see anything, she said. How am I supposed to help you with my eyes shut? Anthony teased. I've seen and touched all that before, he added, laughing. Ugh, stop that. You're being pervy, Marissa said, flustered. I'm not. I just love you, Anthony replied. Hurry up, I'm freezing, she said. He unhooked the stuck zipper from her hair and helped her into the dress. A few minutes later, they were in the car, heading to a surprise destination. Before they left, Anthony blindfolded her. She didn't ask why. Soon they arrived. Anthony stepped out first and helped her down. They stood in front of a restaurant. He removed her blindfold. Surprise! Happy birthday! Anthony said cheerfully. Marissa gasped. Above the door was a sign bearing her name. She turned to him, eyes wide. What is this? Why are we here? She asked in disbelief. This restaurant is yours. This whole building is my gift to you. Now you have your own place. The kids won't have to sell food around town anymore. I know you can run this place. You're passionate about cooking. You'll grow this business. I believe in you, Anthony said with a smile. This wasn't necessary, but thank you, Marissa said tearfully, pulling him into a tight hug. I love you. I'll do anything that makes you happy. Let's go inside, Anthony replied. Once inside, the restaurant was already filled with food on the tables. The triplets waved excitedly when they saw them come in. Anthony's expression soured slightly as Marissa's friends approached her one by one to greet her. They smiled widely and even gave him a thumbs up. Anthony smiled politely and reached into his pocket to check the ring he had brought. Josh handed him a bouquet, which he then gave to Marissa. Suddenly, confetti burst through the air, drawing Marissa's attention. Anthony seized the moment. He dropped to one knee and pulled out the ring box. Everyone gasped. Marissa looked around, confused that he had disappeared from her side. She looked down and saw him kneeling in front of her. Marissa, Anthony began, I've waited so long for this chance. Fate pulled us apart once. We tried to love others, but it never worked. No one else ever replaced what we had in each other. Marissa gasped, covering her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. She looked stunned, but her expression soon softened. Anthony grew anxious when she didn't respond right away. "Yes, of course, yes," Marissa finally said, crying as she nodded. Anthony stood and embraced her tightly, overwhelmed with joy. "Thank you. You won't regret saying yes. I'll make you and our kids happy, and the children we might still have. I'll be there for all of you," he promised. "This is too much. You've already done so much for me and our kids. I don't think I deserve it, but I appreciate everything you've done," Marissa replied. "For you, I'll do anything, because I love you, Marissa," Anthony said. "I love you too, Anthony," she answered. Then Anthony kissed her on the lips. Cheers erupted from the guests. The triplets jumped up and down with excitement. After the engagement, everyone enjoyed the meal and celebrated together. 3 months later, Anthony and Marissa were married in a church ceremony. Marissa had also received a prosthetic leg with Anthony's help, and she couldn't have been happier. She once believed she'd never experience any of this. Not love again, not her dream of having her own restaurant. But she reached her goals, and not just because of her husband and children, but because of the grace of God. She believed God used the good people around her as instruments to help her overcome her struggles and reach her dreams. She would never forget to be grateful every single day. Marissa couldn't believe she had finally reached a place where love, family, and purpose came together. Fate and divine timing had reunited two hearts that once drifted apart, giving them another chance to find joy with each other. And now, Marissa intended to become an instrument of hope as well. With the success of her business, she used her own earnings to help others, especially those with disabilities like herself. She also began supporting children in orphanages and the elderly in care homes. Anthony was beyond proud of her. He never regretted waiting all those years for her to return. He had waited for the one woman he loved most, the one with the kindest heart, and that is where the love story of Anthony and Marissa ends. Thank you so much to everyone who never stops listening and following these amazing stories. God bless you all. It's Mr. Hope here again. Until we meet again, stay safe.